How do we change things? Well, let's take a look at the organizational model of the educational system, and then let's take a look at our model. Watch this real closely. Here's an individual with the 5 senses. And this is going to be a graphic illustration of what's happening here. Person goes to school. And what do? They hear what the teacher's saying. Now you hear with your ears. You hear with your ears. They're for hearing. Odds are pretty good. If you hear, you'll gather the information. Gathering information is exactly what it implies. It's gathering information. It's the books piling up in the consciousness. And you better be consciously aware of what's in the books, because you're going to get a test. And they come along and they give you a test. They want to remember. Find out, do you remember what's in those books? So they give you a test. And if you answer all the questions right, they'll say you know. That's not knowing. That's not knowing at all. But that's what we call it. Now, that's the way school operates. You hear what the teacher's saying. You remember what's in the books. You answer more right than wrong, and you'll pass. Now, let's go the way we do it. It's not a matter of hearing. You've got to listen. You don't listen with your ears. You listen with your emotions. You've got to let yourself, you've got to get that right inside. You've got to let yourself get emotionally involved in this. This is the teacher's responsibility. I got to get your attention. I got to hold your attention till he gets you really locked into it. Now, odds are pretty good. If you listen, you will learn. You're not learning right now. You're gathering information right now. I want you to listen. Now, really listen carefully. You are gathering information. You are not learning in here. You're gathering information. If you're going to learn something, you got to do it when you get out of here. Now, what is learning? Learning is not what school says. Learning is not being able to answer the questions in the book. Let's say you learn so much. What did Hoffer say? The learned will find themselves beautifully equipped to deal with a world that no longer exists. There's no such thing as a learned person. You're either learning or you're not. Learning is when you consciously entertain an idea, you get emotionally involved in the idea, you step out and act on the idea, you do it. Yet you change the end result. The learning experience is the feedback that comes to your consciousness from the idea you thought about that you got emotionally involved in, they act on, and it changes the result. The learning is the feedback that comes to our consciousness. I know that if I think this and I get involved in emotionally and I step out and act on it, then I'll change the results. I have learned something. That's not what school does. Okay? You don't change things by fighting existing reality. You build a new model that makes the existing model obsolete.
The will is the mental faculty that gives you the ability to hold one idea on the screen of the mind to the exclusion of all outside distractions or ideas. I want you to start dreaming about what you want and then discipline yourself that you're going to execute it. Now, you and I are constantly being inundated with ideas through our senses. See, hear, smell, taste, touch. It's flying into our mind. It's so easy to get off track. Most information that you pick up just as you go through your day is negative. It's very negative. Most people spend most of their time thinking of why things won't work. 97% of the population are locked into that. If you turn on your radio or your TV, the news, it's all negative. It's not good news, it's bad news. And people will sit and stare at it. Now, your mind works in such a way that if you're not thinking, your subconscious mind is wide open to impression. And whatever's going on goes right into your subconscious mind. You become totally deductive to whatever the environment you're in. It's very important that you mix with the right people. I am super selective about people that I spend a lot of time with. I don't think I'm any better than anybody. I think I'm a lot more fortunate than most, but I don't think I'm any better than anybody. There's just some people I don't want to be around them a lot. It's doom and gloom. It's bad times. I love what Earl Nightingale said. Don't talk about your health unless you're talking to a doctor. But you know, if you're not feeling well and you talk to somebody about it, you know what they're going to do? They're going to sympathize. What are they going to do? They're going to add more bad energy to the bad energy you're talking and thinking about. If you go to the doctor isn't going to give you sympathy. The doctor is going to give you direction how to get better. So don't talk about your health unless you're talking to a doctor. You might want to turn that into a little mantra in your mind. Well, here we want to learn to make decisions, and then we want to discipline ourselves. Decision without discipline, it probably turns into wishing. Discipline is to give yourself a command and then follow it. It's the ability to give yourself a command and then follow it. This I will do.
Many people believe that success is a matter of being in the right place at the right time. And I think there's probably a grain of truth in that, but get this. You got to be aware that you're in the right place at the right time. If you're not aware that you're in the right place at the right time, it ain't going to happen. So what we're talking about here is awareness. Now, I see 7 different levels of awareness here. It goes from an animalistic state to mastery. So let's look at this and let's relate it to our own life. In an animalistic state, you're going to react to everything. When you master this situation, when you're in control of you respond. You do not react. Let's take a look at the reactive state. That is the little child. That is the little baby. When they react, it's fight or flight. That's what they're going to do. It's either fight or run. Same situation happens, but a person's responding. What do? They think and they plan. Now, down at the bottom is where we start out. Up at the top is where we sure hope to be. There's the little child, and the little child now is old enough, they're up and running around, and what do? We say, go on out and be like the rest of the kids. In other words, follow the masses. Let them help develop your paradigm. That's what you're doing. Now, the child has this genetic strain in them, that's a paradigm. They're genetically programmed from the moment of conception. Now, they're moving out into a bigger world, and they're going to follow the masses. Yeah, they do that for a period of time, but then they aspire to something greater. They have a desire for something greater. We all do this. We all move into this. Every time we go to do that, every time we go to step ahead, that damn paradigm pulls us back. Every time it pulls us back. You say, I'm going to go there, and the paradigm pulls us back. This goes on over and over. We don't know what's happening. We don't understand any of this. I go to do it, and I can't do it. Then you hear, listen, if you discipline yourself, discipline is the ability to give yourself a command and then follow it. I am never going to pick that up again. Well, this person learns that if they just discipline themselves, and they say, I'm going to do that. That's what I'm going to do. I don't care what happens. I'm just going to go ahead. And that paradigm tries to pull you back. And you see the discipline dissipates. It just folds up and goes away. And we find out that it wasn't discipline. It was nothing but a wish. I wish this could happen. I wish that could happen. And bam, we're stuck again. Over and over and over. We're stuck. Now, what do we have to do? We've got to become more aware. We've got to become aware of what's happening. Discipline is very real. And I think that's the best definition of discipline that you're going to find. Best one I've ever found. It is the ability to give ourselves a command and then follow it. wants and discipline need to be connected. If you're really going to make it happen, the wants and discipline had to be connected. When you go to do this, and when you find that discipline starts to fade, you got to say, no way, absolutely not. And when it starts to appear that it's a wish, say, no, I am not going to give in. This I am going to do. And you bring the discipline back in. And you say, I'm going to be in control of me. I am not going to let the paradigm control me anymore. And what do? You took the idea and you acted on it. And when you acted on that new idea, the whole world started to shift. All those things started to change. And lo and behold, you are in control of you. You exercise the discipline. You gave yourself a command and you follow it. You are in control of you. And my God, you feel so good. When you give yourself a command and follow it, you will feel something that you won't get any other way. You can't buy it. Nobody can give it to you. It's something only you can do. It is such a beautiful thing. Wow. Wow. I'll tell you what I've learned. If you write a lie on a card and you read it often enough, you're going to start to believe it. Whatever you write, if you write it over and over and over, write it over and over and over. See, writing causes thinking. Thinking creates an image. As you get emotionally involved in the image, you're planting it in universal intelligence. Universal intelligence is amoral. It doesn't care what you plant, but it'll return what you plant. I think I quoted Earl where he said you can plant nightshade, a deadly poison, a 1/16 of an inch away. You can plant corn, a sweet food. One will grow with just as great an abundance as the other. That's the truth. Hitler proved that. Told the people a lie. But in his charismatic way of putting it across, and he kept doing it over and over, the people started to believe it. First he had them burning the books, then he had them burning the people. There's people alive today that still believe he was right. It is evil and is wrong. If you build an image and you internalize it, you're planting it universal intelligence. Universal intelligence operates by law. The first law is the perpetual transmutation of energy. It's got to move into form. Quit trying to figure out how it's going to happen. You don't know enough. Just know it's going to happen. And you see, the key there is, are you ready? If you don't believe, you're not ready. You can believe you can do it and not have the foggiest idea how it's going to happen. The moment your belief matches with any state, you fuse with it. What do we mean? You become one with it. You become one with that state. This union results in the activation, projection of the plots and plans and conditions and circumstances. Doesn't matter how it's going to happen. That's the interesting part of the trip. Discovering how it's going to happen. God, I met her, and I met him, and then I met them, and they come and said this. And then I stumbled on this book. This new state of conscious awareness becomes your home. You live there. You may be the only one living there. And that's where you view the world from there. It's your workshop, and if you're observant, you'll see outer reality shaping itself upon the model of your imagination. Well, wonderful information, my goodness. There is a place. Don't let it fade. When your mind goes there, make up your mind it's going to stay there because it is a place. I don't care what the thought is. Doesn't matter what the image is. If your mind can go there, you can physically go there. Let's understand, frequency is a level of vibration. Everything vibrates. It's moving. Now, it appears to be still. It isn't still. It's moving so fast it appears to be still. Every frequency is hooked up to the one above and the one below. There's no line of demarcation. Now, do you want to know what that means? You can go woo, like that onto a higher frequency. But you can also go woo, like that onto a lower frequency. Yet some people do that. But we think on frequencies. So we have to get that right in our mind. There's an energy flowing through our consciousness. We have what's called an inductive reasoning factor. That gives us the ability to you could pick up thoughts. There's actually thoughts floating around. Your thoughts, my thoughts, they're everywhere. Like if I have a thought, it's omnipresent. It's just as present in your mind as it is in mine. You may not be aware of it's there, but so your inductive reasoning factor can choose a thought, or it can take this unadulterated creative power, pure spirit, and it can create a thought. You literally create a thought. And you put that thought with another thought, and another, and you got an idea. An idea is nothing but a thought or a collection of thoughts directed towards a purpose. So what we're doing is we're taking this power that's flowing through us, and we're using this higher faculty that we've got in creating thoughts. Now, that's the one point that all the great leaders have agreed on. They've disagreed on virtually everything else. We become what we think about. Yep. Listen to the conversations of most people. A high percentage of the population are talking about what they don't want, what they hope doesn't happen. They never realize, and it's going to be obvious they don't realize this, that they are directing this magnificent power that's totally subjective. It has no ability to alter anything. You got the choice. But I'm going to tell you something. There's no shortage of good ideas flowing into your mind. There is no shortage. There's an abundance of them. While you're driving, while you're in the shower, while you're eating dinner, while you're talking to somebody, you take mental breaks. Everyone has these ideas. You have them flying on your mind, don't you? But we discard them as fast as they come. Why would we do that? Why wouldn't we keep them there and focus on them? Say, I can do that. I can do that. Why? Because we're ignorant. That's why. If you're observant, you're going to see outer reality shaping itself upon the model of your imagination. Now, this is all our imagination at work. Imagination isn't something just kids play with until they get a little older. Imagination, he'll said, is the most marvelous, miraculous, inconceivably powerful force the world has ever known. You have one. It's one of your higher faculties. That was that sacred gift. Now, what I want to suggest you do is really let yourself relax and start to dream. But as you're doing it, also become aware of how your paradigm is going to fight you. This is where I am. I know how I got here. This is where I want to go. This is a place. If it's a place, don't let it die. Hold it. If it dies, bring it right back. Understand, it's a frequency. You can think. That is huge. We assert there is one original formless substance from which all things are made. All the many forms found in organic and inorganic nature are only different shapes made from the same stuff. And this stuff is a thinking stuff. A thought held in it produces the form of the thought. The original thought of a moving universe first extended throughout the formless substance. The thinking stuff resulting from that thought took the form of systems of planets and continues to maintain that form. Thinking substance takes the form of its thought and moves according to the thought, holding the idea of a circling system of suns and worlds.
It took the form of these bodies and moved them accordingly. Original substance moves according to its thoughts. Every form and process you see in nature is the visible expression of a thought in the original substance. As it thinks of a form, it takes that form. As it thinks of a motion, it takes that motion. That is the way all things were created. We live in a thought world, and the world is a part of a thought universe. This is pretty simple. This is not rocket science. This is just pure life. I have said that an individual gets rich by doing things in a certain way. In order to do so, you must become able to think in a certain way.